I'm sure we can all think about that one professor that has had such an impact on our educational pursuit. Hello, my name is Diana Sargent, and today I am honored to talk to you about a computer science professor that I believe we can learn a lot from when it comes to leadership. So, what does a computer science professor do? Well, their responsibilities include teaching and grading and meeting with students and also fulfilling other bureaucratic requirements. According to the website Ziba.com, the average annual salary is about $90,000, and most often these applicants have a PhD in computer science. And they also typically need about 2 to 4 years of teaching experience to secure that position. And the site also claimed, and I quote, that between 2018 and 2028, the career is expected to grow by 12% and produce 159,400 job opportunities. So, with that being said, I would like to introduce you to my interviewee, Terry Sargent. Terry grew up as a child of missionaries, and when he left for college, it was all by himself without his parents being present. And so he knew he needed to make the most of those opportunities, but he was stuck between studying what he really enjoyed, which was computer science, and something that he knew that he could make a career in, which was teaching. So he ended up pursuing both fields and graduated with 3 different degrees. And when he entered into his graduate program, that's when he was made to teach a class over computer science, more of an introductory course. And he discovered that he loved it and he wanted to pursue that PhD degree. Fast forward to today, he is now a computer science professor at Hardin-Simmons University in Abilene, Texas. And the reason I chose to interview him is because as my father-in-law, I have heard him talk about his students so many times. And it's just this genuine affection and care that he has for all that he teaches that really resonated with me as a student. And through this interview, I've learned that he definitely has a blend of leadership styles, which includes, servant leadership, adaptive leadership, transformational, and situational leadership, among others. But what I really want to talk to you about were these 2 discovery points. And the first one, when I asked Terry about his future goals and aspirations as an educator, he very honestly expressed that in his career, he has felt a lot of pressure to move into some more administrative roles. But he learned very early on that that is just a drain on his enthusiasm and his energy. And he said, and I quote, "I enjoy interviewing with students and teaching folks valuable skills that will be a benefit to them throughout their lives. To the extent that I have been a successful teacher, it has been because I have continued in that role rather than allowing myself to be pushed up the hierarchy." And so that really resonated with what Drucker had said in his 2010 chapter, Managing Oneself, where he said that we, as leaders, and I quote, have to place ourselves where we can make the greatest contribution. And so I think that just makes that point of knowing where you belong. And then the other thing that Terry said is that often, the students that he's teaching, they're young freshmen who have made significant sacrifices to be there. And so it's really important to him to create a culture where they definitely feel like they are being treated like the adults that they are. They're important. It's a learning environment, and that there's a need to act with integrity. And the way that he does that, and he's successful in that by encouraging other educators to also kind of foster that environment and culture. And that aligns with Christensen's 2010 chapter, How Will You Measure Life? And she says, culture in compelling but unspoken ways dictates the proven acceptable methods by which members of the group address recurrent problems. And so when I evaluate myself to these points, what I realize is that I'm always the kind of person that's chasing the next big thing, and I don't necessarily stop to take into consideration whether or not it's the right place for me, or will I make the greatest impact there, or is it just a higher title, a higher role. And also, we all have the ability to create a culture, or at least to help it, or to help build that. And so that brings me to my next steps in taking this information and applying it. And those are, I want to be better at comparing my values and strengths and weaknesses and desires with those of the position or the job responsibilities. And I also want to consider the overall goals that I have and whether or not they align with the company, and how can I work with others to create a culture, even if sometimes that's only within my department. I want to be able to do that, and I want people to recognize that there is work that's going into that. And so today, I have informed you about a computer science position, introduced you to Terry Sargent. I've talked to you about his leadership and the way that I think it applies to me and my next steps moving forward. And I can only hope that you have also taken something away from this and that you enjoyed it. Thank you so much for listening. And these are my sources.